Rico, you want to discuss a little bit about the Plemmont debate, the purchasing of the Plemmont headland.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be right to end the year without explaining, because obviously I did a couple of postings on the whole Plemmont debate where I predicted that the states would actually vote in favour of purchasing Plemmont by a large majority. Now, I got that wrong, and I was well aware before the debate actually took place, but I was going to get it wrong, and I'll explain why. Because I had been getting some feedback by some politicians and that in the lead up, but who had been following my predictions and all the rest of it, how the vote was going to go. And there was one point, one stumbling block that kept coming up, which then I realised it was going to be so close, and that was compulsory purchase. I didn't really give it as much thought. I thought the debate would go left, right. I really thought that's how it was going to kind of pan out, a little bit like that. But I didn't realise the significance of compulsory purchase. And yeah, so the debate obviously went 24-25 against the purchase. And but there was even though some of my predictions came right. I mean, I have to say that the Treasury Minister Philip Ozef, although I predicted him totally bang on, he outfoxed me on this one, which is I have to take my hat off to him. But it was so, when I think now, it was so obvious, but I missed it, because sometimes you miss the most obvious thing, And the classic example of it was the speech given by the Assistant Treasury Minister, Eddie Knoll. Now, anybody who listens to the States as much as if you listen to it as much as I do, you will know that Eddie Knoll didn't write that speech. That was in fact the speech the Treasury Minister would have given, like he gave in 2010 when he was against the purchase of Plemmont. Eddie Knoll, Assistant Treasury Minister, put the Treasury's position right out there, put it right on the map for everyone to see. He didn't do that because he was doing it off his own back. No, he was playing the Treasury's card, and that speech came from the Treasury Minister.
I suppose, are you saying then the Treasury Minister, Senator Philip Ozef, is a Machiavellian, and he got his Assistant Minister to do what he wanted to do?
Do not underestimate people.
Why would the
people underestimate Senator Ozef? Like, they say, oh, he's this and that, but he's a very, people are going to laugh at this, but I think he's one of the best politicians in there, because he knows how to play politician. It's not just about standing up and speaking. There's a fine art to this.
Right, so I suppose what I'm trying to get at here is, well, if you're saying that Senator Ozef is a Machiavellian and he's got Eddie Knoll to read out a speech and vote against Plemmont, why didn't Ozef just do it himself? Why didn't Senator Ozef do it himself?
Because this is how Jersey's operated. It's not Senator Balash, for whatever reason. I'm going to give you my opinion on this. Senator Balash, in some kind of way, owns the Treasury Minister. Now, I believe it's because the Senator Balash has pulled the Treasury Minister out of some difficult situations, especially in the past year, and none more so than Lime Grove. We don't know what goes on in the background in the state. We see we see the surface, but we miss out on all the shenanigans that go on behind, like all the lobbying, the lobbying and that. And let's face it, Senator Ozef was on the brink over the Lime Grove fiasco, but Senator Balash stepped in, and who was Senator Balash saying should go over Lime Grove?
The Controller and Auditor General.
Exactly. And who went over Lime Grove?
The Controller and Auditor General.
Exactly. There was some payback here. The Senator Gorst and Senator Balash could not bring this Plemmont proposition without the backing of the Treasury Minister. Treasury Minister voted against this in 2010. Now, he would have spoken against it again, but only for the reason, as I believe, in my opinion, somehow, is Senator Balash.
You think Senator Balash has got a hold over Senator Ozef?
Absolutely.
Senator Ozef played the Machiavellian and got his Assistant Minister.
Anybody wants to know what the Treasury Minister really thought about the Plemmont debate, not on a personal level, because like myself, he probably likes the headland, but I mean, I'm talking on the political level and the Treasury level here. Read the speech given by the Assistant Treasury Minister, Eddie Knoll, and that is Ozef's speech. Is it a coincidence? But also the economic development was against the purchase. Now, you know, we had the JEP, okay, you know, I've got to bring the JEP on because they brought this
Jersey Evening Post.
Jersey Evening Post, you know, they had this editorial blaming the left. You know, it was the left's fault that the purchase of Plymouth failed. You know, like I said, Wright and Shipley, the editors, they must be weighted down under the amount of iron crosses they must be wearing up there. The amount of propaganda that they're pumping out is just incredible. Balash must be up there every week in the office, pinning them on, cheers, because they blamed it on the left. But look at the vote. Eddie Knoll, straight right-winger, voted against the purchase. The two in the economic development, okay, Alan McLean missed the vote, but he made it quite clear he was voting against.
Yeah.
James Baker, a right-winger, voted against the purchase of Plymouth. James Baker, who ran James Baker's campaign in his election? Philip Ossoff. And who was the PR guru behind it? Glenn Rankin. That's where you've got to look at. You've got to look at the
Deputy Sean Power, right-winger.
Deputy Sean Power, right-winger, voted against the purchase of Plymouth. Anne Pryke, voted, a right-winger, voted against the purchase of... She needs the Treasury Minister. If anyone's read the Health, the white paper for the Health, she'll be singing and dancing in the court of the Treasury Minister. Her Christmas list is phenomenal. So this is how it was played out. They've got the JP blaming the left. It was Roy Larissia. It was Judy Martin. No, look at the right-wing vote. That is where it was at. And don't tell me it was just by coincidence that the economic development and the Assistant Treasury Minister came out against the purchase of Plymouth. No, there's discussions that go in the background, and this is how it was formed. Open checkbook. We come to valuations like 4 million, 4 million. I mean, look at the valuations for Lime Grove. Look at the fiasco that was caused there. We were going to go headlong back into it. You know, do you honestly believe the Treasury Minister wanted to go back down there? No. But he had no choice, and I made it quite clear on my blog that, you know, there's a strings. He's like Senator Balash is like Geppetto, you know. He's the puppet, you know. He's the puppet master. He carved Senator Ossoff out over all those years, and in a way controls him, you know.
So, but I suppose it could be said that Senator Ossoff outfoxed the fox. He outfoxed Senator Balash.
Now, this is what excites me, but I find it intriguing. Like, you know, we don't even know yet what the repercussions are over Plymouth and the lost vote, because Senator Balash, for whatever people say about him, he's not stupid, and he knows basically he had his pants pulled down in that chamber, and he had it pulled down by his Treasury Minister, because he would have known the votes that went against. You know, Eddie Knoll, James Baker, Pryke, okay, he you know, Refo, Constable Refo, he's another Ossoff man. Yeah, you know, this is where, you know. But the whole Plymouth, you know, I came under attack by a couple of the Greens because obviously, you know, they thought I was dead against the purchase of Plymouth, but I was so interested in the political side of the purchase of Plymouth. I knew this is where the story was. It was the whole political side of it, like, you know. Yeah, you know, don't get me wrong, I would be happy if it was natural, but then I'm also think the plans look all right, you know. So I'm kind of like, it's not a portlet, let's be honest here, you know. And I just don't remember anybody on the old white horse riding up to Portlet to save it, like, you know, when Freddie was on his Vanguard, like, you know. Yeah. So you know, so there's a lot of, but I want to go, what really swung it for me was, like, I know, like yourself, we went to that meeting by the National Trust, the public meeting at the town hall, and that was the moment then. But I could have gone back that night and rewrote my blog going, look, it's going to be so close, because in all the years I've been following Jersey politics, and, you know, especially with child abuse and that, you know, you think, oh, I've been shocked, but, you know, I can't be shocked anymore. What I witnessed that night has left a lasting impression on me, because I just came away thinking, I've just seen loads of people applauding and a few foot stamping, but basically trying to land grab someone's land.
Robert Mugabe land grab, it was called, by Deputy Roy Larissia and others. Yeah. And people were clapping and applauding
I couldn't believe it. And there was a few politicians and that, and other members of the public, where we were standing, looking around, just shaking their heads going, this is... Because it was that blinkered, we want that headland, and we were going to get it at any cost. You know, even if we've got to take that land off someone. And I was just out... I couldn't believe it. It was like there was no opposition up on the platform. You know, in a way people might balk at this, but it kind of reminded me of those early 30 German newsreels when you see, you know, the leaders up there giving it the whole spiel. You know, you've got the crowd are all supportive, like it doesn't matter what's going on. Yeah, we're all clapping. Yeah, steal the land. Yeah, take the land. Yeah, all clapping.
Not thinking for 1 minute that this compulsory purchase of land could happen to any one of these people who are clapping it.
Yeah, you know, this guy bought the land on the open market. Yeah. He paid his price, and we say no, we're coming out and take it off you.
And people are clapping it.
And people were clapping. I was just like, hang on. It didn't sit comfortable with me. I walked away thinking, hang on a minute, you know.
I'd like to get back onto the Plemmel, because I think the most significant, what was significant for me in it, and I don't know if you feel the same, I think you do, was it was fantastic that it was such a close vote, and if only every vote in the States Chamber was that close that we couldn't call it, then we could say, bearing in mind we're supposed to have 51 independent members, no votes ever that close, and just about every vote should be that close. So it did show to me that we have really got party politics here, haven't you? Know,
there's been no better debate to show how we have party politics in Jersey. I mean, we've discussed this many times, but on so many votes, it should be a lot closer than it always is. It's normally 25 to 30 one way, 16 the other. That's how, you know, 90% of the votes, that's how it goes in the States. It was just, this one was so, you know, because so much was involved, especially the compulsory purchase and that, it really did split the House. And, you know, again, I sit back and go, my God, you know, Headland, it's got the whole island talking, and so all the politicians split, and, you know, so much going on, people campaigning, and yet, how does that stand alongside child abuse?
Well, I'm sure that's a blog we will be going into in the new year.
Do the children of abuse get offered the same passion and fever? I don't know if that's or further, whatever the right word is. I can't think of it. Well, but you know,
it'd be interesting to see if the state media
will BBC Jersey be running around the Royal Square in the morning asking for people,
live interviews with people?
Yeah, how do you vote on the committee of inquiry into child abuse?
That's right.
This is what we will be waiting to see.
That's right. And the other significant thing I believe that the Plemmel debate delivered was a few people's eyes were opened as to how the JEP run about their business. I've been chatting to a couple of politicians just lately who basically said, you bloggers are right about the JEP, and I've just had my eyes opened about them.
Well, again, you know, like I said at the beginning of this piece, we don't know the real fallout of this Plemmel debate yet. And believe me, there is some fallout, because I believe some real eyes were opened in the States Chamber as to, you know, it's got to be the pure audacity of Senator Balash and bringing the Chief Minister along with him. But he thought he could just steamroll, right, like he did with the Electoral Commission. Hijacked it. He thought he could just steamroll right through and get his way, and it proved not to be. And I think a lot of people's eyes have been opened on it, you know. And yeah, you know, I got the main vote wrong, but you know, there's some very interesting points to be made from the Plemmel debate. How the left were blamed, but when you look at the right-wing vote, that's where Plemmel was lost. Could the JEP focus on that? Could it out those politicians? But you know, normally they're right-wing cohorts. No, they couldn't. Let's blame it on the left. You know, there's such a defunct attitude. It really is.
Well, it was, because I think that the last significant point I don't know if you feel the same, is that people got to see how Senator Balash goes about his business. People got to see, he brought this proposition. He personally insulted people. He divided the community and tried to blame the developer for dividing the community. Senator Balash personally insulted people during his summing up and his opening speech. So that opened up eyes to a lot of to some politicians.
There was, I mean, when you just look at the actual beginning of this proposition, it was quite bizarre. You know, Senator Balash orchestrated it all, but then gave it to the Chief Minister to bring, because Senator Balash didn't want to bring it, because in his election campaign he said he was sick and tired of people bringing the same propositions back to the States. So he must have realised, he said that, thought, well, I can't bring it.
Because he's already hijacked the Electoral Commission.
Hijacked the Electoral Commission. So Senator Gorst brings the proposition, But Senator Gorse can't make the speech in the proposition because he's got a conflict of interest as he's a member of the National Trust of Jersey. So Senator Balash delivers the speech, who's also a member of the National Trust of Jersey. It's such a shambolic... Well, it's business as usual, isn't it? The only thing different was it was a close vote. Yeah. And the JEP, was, going for their, Iron Cross first class. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's got to stop. Sometime we need a media ombudsman in the island. Things have got to change. They have got to change. I mean, we are just... It's like, you couldn't sell this to Hollywood. You couldn't. They just wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe what goes on in this little island.
Former DCO Lenny Harper said this wouldn't make for a credible fictitious story.
I think he's absolutely correct, and we'll leave it there.